I welcome all of you to the day 2 of my 3-day online course on best practices for writing a research paper fast and easy. Today we are going to discuss the strategies for writing a research paper fast and effectively. So first we will try to understand the different sections of a research paper. Then I will give you a shortcut method by which you can write a research paper very fast. And then we will try to understand each section of the research paper, like what we have to write in that and how we have to take up that section, how we have to write that section. So let's start our today's session. So every research paper has this IMRAD structure, which stands for I for introduction, M for methodology, R for results, and D for discussion. I am not talking about review paper. I am only talking about the research paper. So every research paper should have these 4 sections, and all the information that you want to share should be separated or written in these four sections only. So this is an internationally accepted structure of a research paper known as IMRAD structure. Now, so what does each of the section of a research paper tells you? In the abstract, we are trying to tell the reader what did I do. In the introduction, we are trying to tell like what is the problem. In the materials and methods, we are trying to tell like how did I try to solve the problem. And in the results, then we tell that what did I find out. In the discussion, we tell what does that mean. Well, like whatever I find out, what does that actually mean. In acknowledgement, we tell who has helped me to write this paper, and in the references, we tell whose work did we refer to. So this is what each section of the research paper tells us. So now I am going to share with you a very nice trick by which you can write a research paper very fast. So what you have to do when you are doing your experimentation, at that time you have to write the methods and methodology part along with doing the section, along with doing the experiments. Like when you are doing your work, along with that you write this part. Now when the experimentation part has been done, then you write the results and discussion part. So how does this make sense and how does this helps you? First of all, when you are doing your experimentation work, you have everything in your mind. You know what you have done, you know how you have done, what tools you used, what were the things that you faced while doing your experimentation, and how you overcame those challenges. When you try to write your research paper after doing all of the work, like after 1 or 2 weeks, we tend to forget some things which may or may not be important for our research paper. But if we write these sections along with the work that we are doing, we would be able to write even those parts which we may forget the otherwise. So this is my when you are doing your experimentation work, write this part at the same time. Now When after doing your work, when you have got the results, at the same time you write this section, because at that time all these things are very fresh in your mind. You have an idea of what you are doing, how you are doing, and everything of that. So here is where the trick lies. Now after writing these two sections, what happens, you may have a basic idea about the theme of your paper, like what is the work that you have done and in which way your work is going. You will have a basic idea about the theme of your paper. So like this, when you have the theme of the paper, then it would be very easy for you to write the other sections of your research paper. After writing these two sections, now you write the related work section. Now since you know what you have done, you know how you have done that work, now you can compare your work with your literature review. So you are going to write only those works which are similar to yours. So many a times what happens, that we even write about those works which have no relation to what we are doing. So this thing, when you are doing, after doing your work, after your methods and results part, so this trick will save you from that. You will mention only those works which are actually related to your part. After doing this thing, now you start writing your introduction and references part, because now you know everything about that paper, how we started, how you came to your topic, and how the work has been done, and what you got from it. So now is the best time to write your introduction part, because now you can understand what to actually write there. I will talk about this later once, about what to actually write in an introduction part. After writing this section, now you go towards the abstract and keywords. Now when you have written the whole paper, now is the best way, or I can say that right now is the best time to write your abstract. Abstract is always written at the last of the paper. Do not try to write the abstract in the very first thing. Always write your abstract after you have written the whole paper, and also the keywords. Now when this work is also done, now you come to the title, the author names, the affiliations and acknowledgements. So by using this trick, by using this method, you can actually write a very good paper in a very short time, because by the time your work will be finished, your manuscript will be ready, and within 1 month you can send that manuscript to the journal. So this is an advantage. So this is the trick here that I wanted to share with all of you through this course. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the first thing of a research paper, that is the title. Your title should be 8 to 15 words. The rest of the things you can read from the slide, but I would like to jump here to the important part, the trick that I want to share with you. Your research title should describe the topic, the method that you have used, the sample, and the things that you have found out means the results of your study. Now you might be wondering that how we can put all of these things in a single title. So I will give you a magical formula by which you can make a very nice title which has all of these things. Here is the thing. The result with an hyphen or semicolon, whatever it is. A method, you have to here name your method. The study of your topic among your sample name. For an example, the meditation makes nurses perform better. A qualitative study of mindfulness meditation among German nursing students. So this is your this first part is your result. Fine. Then you have that hyphen or semicolon, whatever it is. I am not sure about the name. Then a method of yours. Which method you used. Then study of topic among your sample size. So by this, see, in this one title you have told 4 things to your readers. You have told your topic, you have told your method, you have told your sample size, and you have also told your result. See the beauty of this. In this one single line you have told 4 things to them. So by using this trick you can write very good titles. Now coming on to the author name and affiliation. I will be very straightforward with you, but the one who has done the work should be named as the first author, cause first author always gets the 75% of the credit of the work. So if your friend does all of the work and you have just helped him in the work or to write that paper, please don't ask him. Let him be the first author. It is gonna help him for his future. So the first author always gets the 75% of the credit. Being a second or third author is also acceptable if the work has not been done by you. Now coming on to the abstract. It is around 250 words. It is a short summary of your paper. It is the first thing that we read while reading a paper. It tells about the importance of your topic. Now what I want to tell you here, do not put an abbreviation in the abstract. Like what we do, I read a paper where they started with wireless sensor networks. First they wrote the whole term wireless sensor networks, then in bracket they wrote WSN in the abstract. Please don't do that work there. Write the whole thing. Let the readers understand. Don't put abbreviation in an abstract. Also, do not put a citation in an abstract, and use the active voice wherever possible. So how to check if your abstract has been done in a nice way or not? Your abstract should answer to these specific questions, like what was done, why did you do it, what did you find out, and why are your findings important and useful. If your abstract answers all of these 4 questions, you can say that your abstract is a nice abstract. Elsewise, you need to improve that. Now, coming on to the keywords. As you know that when our paper comes online, it is included in various databases. Okay. Ultimate aim of any researcher is to get more citations. That is a true fact. You cannot deny that. Fine. So, in order to get more citations, you will like that more and more people read your paper. How? When they can easily find your paper amongst hundreds of other papers. Now, how to do that? That work can be done in two ways. First is you write your title in a very good way, and second is the keywords. We might have heard about the search engine optimization. Here, that is the same work that we are trying to do using our keywords. Keywords help your paper to be found out. So here you can play a game like you have worked on many of these things, but all of those things cannot come in your title. So you can add those things in your keywords so that your paper should be accessible for more and more search terms. More it will be read by the others, the better it will be, and more you will get as a citations. So you can have around 8 to 10 keywords in your research paper. So I need to check whether these are recording or not. Okay, fine. So keywords should be represent the content of your manuscript and be specific to your field or subfield. These are very basic things. Now coming on to the introduction. Introduction part you have to write like a funnel. Funnel means what happens in the funnel. That the bigger parts stay at the top, the less bigger parts come down, more less bigger parts are come down, and that the same thing. You have to write your introduction just like writing a funnel. How? First, you create some context and background of your work. Then you tell your reader about your research that you plan to do. Then tell your motives, tell why your research is important, and finally state your hypothesis. So these are 5 steps by which you can write your introduction section. Now when I talked about writing this section like a funnel, I will tell you how. See, like my topic is development of low cost wireless sensor network node for early detection of forest fires, right? So in the initial stage I will write about the forest fires and what is the current scenario of those in the first paragraph. Then I will write basic things about the forest fire systems. Cool. Then I am going to talk about the wireless sensor network systems, and then finally I will talk about the wireless sensor network systems for forest fire detection. Right? Fine. See how we started with a very broad thing. We started with forest fires, which is available all over the country, right? We talked where they are now, what is happening as of now. Done. First we got the bigger perspective. Then we shortened that perspective to talk about the detection systems. These can be of many types like air, camera, all of those. Then we made this thing more small and came to the wireless sensor network systems for this, for the forest fire. So you can understand here how we started from a big thing and slowly came down to a smaller thing. That is how you have to write your introduction section. Fine. Now you have to use active voice as much as possible, and some use of first person is fine, but do not overdo it. This is a general advice for writing an introduction section. Now, how you are going to write your literature review? The table that I shared with you in my last session, in the session of yesterday. Once when you have made that table, then you are going to write this part. In the first paragraph, you are going to cite those papers or tell about those papers which relate to your background of the topic. Then in the second paragraph, you are going to tell about the other methods in one or two lines, not more than this. While in the third and fourth paragraph, you are going to talk broadly about those studies that are done which are very similar to what you are doing. So how you come to know that which study is same as of yours or not? Here you have to check that table in the method section and in the research question section. So in that way you will have an idea about how to write the third and fourth paragraph. I will say this one more time. These tips are to write a research paper, not a review paper. Please be sure about this. Now we are going to write the methods and methodology. So this is the part where you tell how you did this work, right? Please be sure that you are going to write this part in a method that if somebody else wants to do your work, they can also do that same work. You have to tell this part in that way that they can also do the same work if they feel like doing. So in the part 1 you just restate your research question. Then in the second para you tell your designs and methods. Then in the third para you tell why you choose this. See, every work to be done has so many ways. One work can be done in many ways, but why you choose this one only? You should have a strong answer for this, like why you choose this. That reason you have to mention in the third part of your methodology section. And finally in the fourth part you have to evaluate your methods. Okay, I choose this, now I worked with this. What was the pros and cons of choosing this method? See, what we try to do my mother has sent me a message. Be confident, take a long breath when you stammer. She has just seen the first session video. I'm sorry about my stammering. Last day I was really stressed because everything was happening. I could not take all those things. Many things happened, and since this was my first course, I did not knew how to handle, and my internet went off and everything happened. I have to shoot on the spot, all those things. I hope my stammering is not as of much now in this session. I am able to speak properly because I am less stressed. One tip for all of you. One means personal trip. Personal tip for all of you. We think spirituality is not for us, but it is for us. We get so many tensions in everyday life. We get so many kind of stresses. We have a work to do. We have a family to handle. We also might have somebody else in our life or whatever those things. These things actually stress our mind. So spirituality is what actually helps us. When I was about to start this session, I meditated for 10 minutes and then I came to shoot this, and you can see the results. How bold I am and how nicely am I able to speak. So now coming back to the things that we were doing. So in the methodology section, you can use active voice, but this section needs the third person voice. You should not use the first person voice, and always use the past tense, since the work you are writing here has already been done. Okay, so what not to include in methodology: list of equipment. Don't go on write everything that you used with their numbers or something like that, until and unless it is really important. See, we might be using signs, and those guys will be knowing. We might be using some kind of really good instruments while we are doing your work. It is okay to share their name, but don't go on to tell the name of the multimeter that you use or something like that, until and unless, I'm not saying you don't have to write, until and unless they are really significant part of your work. Like I know I know a case where we have to measure the means current of microampere. Measuring a current of microampere is not something that we do every day in our labs, right? We just go to milliamps or amps. Okay, so going to micro was a very big deal. So in that case, we have to write the name of the multimeter, because we are doing something that is not every day done. So in that case, you can write, but don't just go on to write every name or whatever like this. Okay, so first thing. Second thing, please do not include raw data. You can tell that from where we got that raw data and what was the form of that, how we analyze that. You can tell those things, but don't just put your data there. Okay, and next thing, do not write about the basic procedures. Okay, like very basic things, like very basic things means you might have understood about what I am trying to say. So now coming on to the results. In this section, we just tell what we have find out. Only tell what you have find out. Don't explain it. Okay. These results should be presented in such a nice way that someone who is new to this thing is also able to understand them. Okay, fine. You have to put your tables and figures in this section, right? Now, what we can include is the data in the table, the contextual analysis of this data, the report on data collection. These things are what you can include in this section, and the data that corresponds to the central research questions and the secondary findings. So what not to put in the results section? See, do not reiterate each value from a figure or a table. Just tell how they are and what they tell. and what they explain. See, like I am working on a gas sensor, right? I am trying to understand the working of that gas sensor. So I have got a figure. Now I will not be going to tell each and every point of that of that figure. Just tell what that means and go to the next. Okay? Do not put same data in both a table and figure. Just do it once. Okay? Do not report raw data values. Just summarize them as means or percents or whatever kind of things. Now coming on to the discussion section. You have written the results. Now you want to tell how that what you understood from those results. Okay, what you got from there. Fine. So this is the part where you do that work, where you tell what you got to understand from those results. Here we are going to use the active voice. First person is okay, but do not do it too much. The way in which you have presented your tables and figures in the result section, you have to talk about them in the same manner, in the same way in this discussion section, right? Use the same sequence. Don't just jump from one over to the other until and unless they both of them are very closely related. Okay. Now coming on to the acknowledgement part. In this section, it is always better to mention the funding agency. Obviously your project would be funded by something. Here in India we have projects funded by TST, SUB, something like this, or you might have your institute funded projects. So you have to mention about them here in the acknowledgement. Thank your supervisor or guide, and also the important people who have helped you. Most of the people don't jump from this part, don't go beyond this part, they just finish here itself. But you can put on these two parts also if you feel like, right? Now references and citation. See, when you are trying to do your literature work, right, you might read some papers. Fine. Now reading those papers is important, but you must tell which papers you have read, and that you will be doing by citing those papers, by citing that work. Ki I got to know this thing, but this thing I got to know from that paper. That is called as a citation. Every citation has its corresponding reference. Fine. So what we put in citation, and what we put in a reference. In a citation, every journal has its own format. Like in some we have to write the name of the author and the year in which that paper was published. Sometimes we have to just write 1, 2 or 3 or something like that. So this will depend on your journal. Fine. But I will tell you this thing. When you are trying to do, try to write the name of the author and the year instead of 1, 2, 3 when you are writing your manuscript for the very first time. Now what we'll get in the reference, like you have said that I came to know this thing from this paper. You have cited a paper. Now every citation will have its corresponding reference. From that reference, the reader or the editor can find out which paper. So that is a reference is like an address of that paper. Now how to write this reference or the address is also different for different journals, that you have to check where do you want to send. So if you have an English or these areas of journal, then the citation style we use is the MLA. If this is your areas of work, then the citation style we use is APA. If these are your works, then the style we use is a shared cargo. If this is your fields, the citation styles we use is IEEE. So this is a very broad topic. In this series, I might not be able to touch all of these things, but I have given you a basic idea about what is a what is a reference and a citation. And if these are your topics, then the style we use is CSC. So somebody like I told you guys to write in your form that what do you want to learn from these things. So one of those things was the softwares for references and citations. So these are the three most commonly used softwares. The RefWorks might have some kind of paid stuff. So mostly used is the Mendeley. So this is the mostly used software for references and citations. Now another thing that was asked by somebody was ways to avoid plagiarism. I'm not sure whether you know about what is a plagiarism or not, but I would like to tell you. Plagiarism is an act of taking somebody's work and showing it as your own. So this is what is called as plagiarisms. How plagiarism comes? When we are trying to do the literature review. So many a times the lines that we write are already written by somebody in their newspaper. So that is what sometimes counts as plagiarism, but a very small scale. Big scale plag is when you just copy paste their work and show it as your own. So how to avoid it? The first way is to properly cite that work. I took this thing from this paper. If you actually give that paper a citation, that is a way you can avoid plagiarism, because by this you will have that feeling among the readers that you did not lie to them. You took somebody's work, but you also gave them its credit. The second way to avoid plagiarism is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means like you have a line or a paragraph that you want to include in your paper. So change the words of those phrases or of those paragraphs in such a way that they do not look same as it was. So what is self plagiarism? See what happens, like I am working on a project. Fine, I did a work on this 1 year back. Now when I am doing some other work and I'm going to write something for that, I have to mention that work, right? I have to mention ki हाँ I got this thing there, so I took a part of that and I went forward in that work. So you need to refer that work कि हाँ this कि हाँ this work was done in an continuation of that work. So here you cannot write that all of those things that you have done in the past, right? Because if you will do, that will be counted as self-plagiarism. So how to avoid it? Firstly is the paraphrasing, and second is the self-citation. Just cite your old work. Ki yes, I did this work in the past and I got this as an answer. Now this work what I am doing now is a continuation of that work. So in order to understand its past, you have to go and read that one part. So this comes as a part of a self-citation. Now somebody asked me how to connect the ideas in a research paper. So like if you want to repeat or simplify what you have already told, you can use words like in other words, simply put, to put it in another way or something like that. If you want to show similarities in two things, you can use these words like similar, in a similar manner, correspondingly, in the same way, equally, for the same reason, words like this. Similarly, these some more things, you can just pause the video and have a look at all of them. Okay, so another question that came to me was how to compare your results with the work that has been already done. So how we do that? What they did and what we did. How we can make a connection? We can make that connection on the basis of methods. कि हाँ, in their work the tools used was something else. What I have done is something else. What was the sample size in their work and what is the sample size in my work? Then you can do it on the basis of validation parameters like the accuracy or something like these kind of stuff. So these are the two ways by which you can compare your results with that of the other's work. Now somebody also asked me this, कि how to check the quality of a research paper. Very good question. So research paper, that is, it should be clear in telling the aims of the work to the reader. Terms should be told in a very nice way, like even if you are using some common terms, some kind of explanation should be given. The sample size of the data needs to be adequate. The design of the work should be able to answer the question, right? And the limitations of the study should be mentioned. Once when you find these 6 things in a paper, then you can say that paper is actually a nice paper. So how are you going to check your own paper? So here I have made a checklist by which you can check your own paper, right? If for the title you have to check that whether it has the information to advertise your work. In the abstract, you have to tell that whether it tells the importance of subject area. You have to tell about the uniqueness of your results. and there should not be any references or abbreviations. In the introduction, you have to tell about the research questions, you have to tell the significance of the work, and you have to tell and you have to focus on the literature gap. Now talking about the methods. In the methods, you have to show how you did the work. Here the same thing. If somebody else wants to do the same work by reading your paper, he or she should be able to do. In this way you have to write your paper. Now coming on to the next section of the results. Here you have to show the facts which supports your new findings. You have to tell the importance of the new methods, and you have to show the uniqueness of the significance of the results. In the discussion section, you have to summarize the findings and relates the results to the expectations. In the acknowledgement part, you have to thank all those people who has helped you in your work. And in the references part, it should be well structured and proper. So this was the day 2 of the session. I hope you might have learned something from this session. If you have any questions, I would be very happy if you just post them in the comment section, right? And I will be making a fourth video since my net is totally down. I will be putting it up as a video where I will answer all of your questions. Even if that video takes me 1 hour, I will still answer all of your questions. So I request all of you to write your questions down in the comment section. Thank you.